welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into Agile project management offices.
Okay.
So you want to know how Agile PMOs work,
Right.
and how to transform a traditional PMO to become more agile.
Yeah.
We're actually working with some Agile PMO course materials. So
oh, wow.
this will be pretty interesting.
This will be some good insider knowledge.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about PMOs is it stands for Project Program Portfolio Management Office.
Right.
But they're not always called that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're referred to as a delivery organization
Right.
or a project center of excellence.
Okay.
But no matter what you call it, the goal is the same.
Yeah.
It's to make project management more effective.
Okay, that makes sense. But
Right.
what's driving this whole push for Agile PMOs? I mean,
Yeah.
didn't PMOs work just fine before?
Well, the world has changed, right?
Right.
And, the course creator asks this really interesting question.
Okay.
Could we manage projects the same way we were leading them 20 or 30 years ago?
Oh, wow.
Think about that. We're in the middle of this fourth industrial revolution
Right.
with rapid innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening everywhere you look.
Yeah.
So the way that we work has to adapt
Right.
to
Yeah.
these changes.
So it's not enough to just throw around like Agile buzzwords.
Right, exactly.
You're saying it's got to be
Yeah, it's not enough to just use the words.
Right.
You have to actually change the way you do things.
right.
An Agile PMO is more than just, putting a label on something.
Yeah.
It requires you to really shift the way you think about things,
Okay.
the values that you bring to work, and really how the work is actually approached.
I see.
And this isn't just about completing projects on time and on budget anymore. It's really about, how do we provide value
Right.
to the customer?
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So what are some of the functions of an Agile PMO
Right.
that really make it different?
Well, think of it this way.
Right.
It's less about, control
Right.
and more about enabling the team
Okay.
to be successful.
I see.
So you're going to see things like coaching and mentoring
Yeah.
becoming really, really central,
Yeah.
instead of that sort of top-down direction.
Right.
An Agile PMO is really focused on building strong partnerships across the organization, not just within the PMO itself.
Right.
And making decisions that are driven by data.
Correct.
That's really, really crucial.
Yeah.
And you need to have the right kind of communication.
Yeah.
And all of that's going to be underpinned by using the right metrics to track progress.
So we're going to get to metrics a little later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that more.
Okay, I'm starting to get a better understanding of what makes an Agile PMO different.
Right.
But let's talk about Agile itself for a second.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions out there about it.
There are.
What are some of the common myths that you've run into
Yeah.
about Agile?
One of the biggest ones is that it's just, chaos
Right.
and doing whatever you feel like.
Right.
And there's no structure, there's no accountability.
Okay.
But that is absolutely not true.
Okay.
Agile is really about embracing change,
Right.
empowering your teams,
Okay.
and really just laser focusing on delivering value
Yeah.
to the customer. And
Yeah.
it's a disciplined approach. It requires careful planning
Yeah.
and execution to make it work.
Okay, so how does that Agile mindset
Right.
actually play out in a PMO?
Yeah.
What are some of the key elements that we need to think about?
Well, first of all, think about communication.
Okay.
Agile PMOs are built on transparency
Right.
and having really open dialogue.
Yeah.
There's a huge emphasis on collaboration,
Yep.
not just within the PMO team itself,
Yeah.
but with all the stakeholders across the organization.
Right.
Empowering teams
That's
to
right.
make decisions is also really key.
Right.
And that goes hand in hand with this idea of servant leadership.
Okay.
Leaders in an Agile PMO are really there to support
Right.
and enable the team, not to dictate to them.
Gotcha. So it's
Yeah.
about creating this environment where people feel supported
Yeah,
to do their best work.
that's the idea.
Okay, this is making me rethink how I view project management altogether.
Right.
It's less about
It is.
control
Yeah.
and more about fostering this collaborative environment where teams can kind of thrive.
Exactly.
But isn't multitasking essential
Right.
in today's world? I
Yeah.
mean, it's so fast-paced.
It's interesting you say that
Yeah.
because actually Agile encourages the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, you really want to focus on one task at a time
Okay.
to be truly efficient.
Okay.
I know it might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah, it does a little bit.
but it actually leads to better quality work
Okay.
and faster results.
I see. Yeah.
You know, think about when you're constantly switching between tasks.
Right.
You lose focus.
Yeah.
You lose momentum.
Yeah.
But if you dedicate all of your attention
Right.
to just that one thing,
Yeah.
you can really get into a state of flow
Right.
and produce your best work.
Interesting. Yeah, it challenges the way a lot of us have been conditioned to work, I think.
Exactly.
So let's say we're ready to embrace this
Okay.
this agile way of working.
Right.
How do we actually build a team that's ready to make that shift?
Right.
What should we be looking for?
Well, you know, building an agile team is about a lot more
Yeah.
than just, technical skills.
Right.
Of course, competency is essential.
Okay.
You need people who have the right knowledge and experience.
Right.
But in a world where people are working remotely,
Right.
culture fit is just as important.
Right.
You need to have people who are comfortable
Yeah.
collaborating virtually,
Right.
who are open to new ideas
Yeah.
and willing to learn and grow.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
individual skills and how those people kind of mesh together in a
Exactly.
team.
Exactly. And the size of the team matters.
Okay.
Agile teams are typically smaller,
Okay.
ideally between 3 and 9 people.
Right.
That allows for that effective communication and collaboration.
Okay.
And remember, the organizational culture
Yeah.
plays a huge role here.
Okay.
Agile really thrives in these
Oh, with a
open and
plan.
transparent environments
Yeah.
where people feel safe to experiment
Mm-hmm.
and they're not afraid to fail.
Right.
It's a big part of it.
So how do we assess the organizational culture
Right.
and figure out if it's truly conducive to agile?
Right.
And what if it's not? Can we still make it work?
Well, that's where a suitability assessment
Okay.
comes in.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really crucial step in figuring out
Yeah.
if Agile is even the right fit
Okay.
for your organization, and if it is,
Yeah.
what areas might need some attention
Yeah.
before you kind of jump in and start the transformation.
Right.
It helps you evaluate all these different factors like leadership, support, your team structure,
Yeah.
existing processes, and of course, the overall organizational culture.
So it's about taking a hard look at yourself before you jump in head first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because changing an organization's culture is not easy.
Right.
It's a journey, not a destination. And it requires patience
Yeah.
and persistence
Right,
and a
yeah.
commitment from everyone involved, especially the leadership team.
So even in organizations with these kind of,
Right.
deeply ingrained
Yeah.
traditional structures,
Right.
you're saying there are ways to kind of cultivate an environment where Agile can take root.
There are definitely things you can do.
Okay.
It just might take a little more effort.
So let's say we've done our due diligence.
Yeah.
And we're confident that Agile is the right path for us.
Okay.
What are the core values
Yeah.
that really define an Agile PMO?
Right. Well, it's about moving away
All right.
from that rigid command and control
Yeah.
mentality and really moving towards a more
Okay.
collaborative and value-driven approach.
Okay.
So instead of, fixating on just completing tasks,
Right.
an Agile PMO is really focused on how do we
Thanks.
deliver value to the customer
Yeah.
and how do we really maximize
Okay.
those project outcomes.
I see.
So,
Yeah.
higher customer satisfaction,
Right.
better results,
Right.
working in those small increments,
Yeah.
building effective teams,
All right.
really good, seamless communication.
Yeah.
There's no rigid hierarchies.
Okay.
You have improved visibility and
Mhm.
control that actually adds value.
Okay.
Those are the things that really define a truly agile PMO.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Good.
But how do we make sure
Yeah.
we're actually delivering that value?
Yeah.
What are the steps?
Well, that's where value management comes in.
Okay.
An agile PMO is going to focus on prioritizing projects
Right.
based on what their return on investment is.
Okay, so ROI.
Yeah, or ROI.
Okay.
It's about being strategic
Right.
and intentional with where you spend your time and your resources.
Right.
And a key principle here is minimizing work in progress, or WIP.
Okay, so we're not just doing a bunch of random projects.
You're picking.
We're picking and choosing.
Yeah, you're very carefully selecting the projects that are going to align with your strategic goals and bring you the most value.
So it's almost like a portfolio management kind of approach.
It is, and there's actually this concept called value portfolio management that takes this even further.
Okay.
And it really helps to make sure that the resources that you have are being spent on the most valuable work.
Okay, so we're being strategic about choosing the right projects.
Right.
And managing our workload effectively.
Exactly. And then, of course, you need to figure out how are you going to measure all of this?
Right. How do we know if this is actually working or not? Well, what are the metrics?
Well, the metrics are super important.
Okay.
They really give you that clear picture of whether your agile transformation is working or whether you need to make some adjustments.
Okay, give me some examples of some metrics that are particularly useful in this agile PMO context.
Well, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
But some of the most common and valuable ones include things like velocity, sprint burn down, product backlog burn down, cycle time, lead time, your work in progress, throughput, cumulative flow diagrams, and even team morale. We can talk about all of these in more detail later on. But the key takeaway here is that your metrics need to be relevant. They need to be transparent, and they need to be agreed upon by both the team and the management.
So everybody's on the same page.
Exactly. Everybody needs to understand what's being measured and why it's being measured.
Okay, I'm starting to see how metrics are really vital.
They are.
In this whole agile process.
They really are.
It's not just about gut feeling.
No.
It's about having, concrete data to inform our decisions and measure our progress.
And that brings us to another really critical aspect of agile PMOs, and that is leadership. It's not enough to just have these agile processes and tools in place. You really need to have leaders who truly understand and embody the agile mindset.
Okay, so what makes an agile leader different from a traditional leader?
Well, traditional leaders often operate from that command and control mindset. They're focused on authority and hierarchy. But agile leaders
are servant leaders. They really prioritize the needs of their team. They empower their teams to make decisions. And they foster a culture of collaboration and continuous improvement.
So it's a real fundamental shift.
It is.
in how we view leadership. It's less about that control and more about empowerment and enabling people to do their best work.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm starting to see how this agile leadership style could really be a game changer.
It can be.
For organizations.
Yeah.
But what about the role of the agile PMO manager? What are their specific responsibilities?
Well, you can really think of the agile PMO manager as the champion of agile within the team and within the organization. They're really responsible for fostering that collaboration, removing any impediments
that the team might run into. Promoting that continuous improvement and making sure that those agile values are actually put into practice.
Okay, so they're not just a project manager. They're kind of...
They're a leader.
A coach, a facilitator, a champion for change.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big job.
Yeah, so it sounds like a challenging but also rewarding role.
It definitely is.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second. Transforming an entire organization into an agile powerhouse. I mean, that's got to be a massive undertaking.
They can be.
Especially for larger companies that have these more traditional structures.
It definitely can be. But remember, transformation is a journey, not a project. And it's not about, doing everything perfectly from the start. It's about taking small steps, learning as you go, and constantly adapting to the needs of your organization.
So what are some of the key things we need to think about before we embark on this agile transformation journey?
Well, for starters, you need strong executive support. You really need buy-in from the top to create a culture that really embraces agile values. you also need a clear vision of what you want to achieve with this transformation.
So like, what are your goals?
Exactly.
What are you trying to solve?
Exactly. What problems are you trying to solve? By becoming more agile.
And then you need a plan.
For
how to actually make this happen.
Exactly. How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
What resources are you going to need? It's not just about deciding to go agile. You really need to have that well-defined roadmap.
All right, so you got to have a roadmap for getting there.
You do, and you also need to be realistic about the challenges that you're going to face along the way.
Right.
Transforming an organization is not easy.
Yeah.
There's going to be resistance to change. There are going to be bumps in the road, and there might even be times when feel like giving up.
So resilience
is key.
And perseverance are key here.
Absolutely. But remember, the rewards are worth it.
Okay.
Organizations that successfully embrace Agile, they see these huge improvements in quality, productivity, customer satisfaction, and overall agility.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is making me realize how crucial it is to choose the right approach for your organization and your project.
It's not one size fits all.
Right.
It really depends.
So Agile's not just this.
Yeah, it's not a magic bullet.
One size fits all solution.
It's not a magic bullet. You really have to think about what's right for you.
So we need to understand the different methodologies
there are a lot of
frameworks and
there are different frameworks.
And really choose wisely.
And sometimes a hybrid approach, where you're blending Agile with more traditional methods can be a good starting point, especially if your organization is new to Agile.
So it's about finding the right balance.
Exactly.
And adapting Agile to
it's about making Agile work for you.
Your specific context.
Right.
All right. So before we move on, I want to make sure I've got this straight.
Okay.
An Agile PMO is more than just using like Agile terminology.
All right.
It's about adopting a whole new working.
It's a complete mindset shift.
Okay.
It's about a change in values and really a different way that you approach work.
So it's about
collaboration. Empowerment, continuous improvement.
Okay.
And really delivering value to the customer.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm loving this deep dive.
Good.
What's next?
Well, now that we have a solid foundation of the fundamentals, I think it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually build a compelling vision for your Agile PMO transformation.
Okay, I'm ready to get visionary.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. All right, let's talk vision.
Okay.
It feels a little abstract, but I'm guessing it's crucial.
It is.
For an Agile PMO transformation.
It's really important. Building a vision for your Agile PMO transformation is kind of like setting the destination for a road trip. Yeah. You need to know where you're going in order to plan the route. Yeah. Make sure that everybody is on board with the journey.
I'm starting to see how that analogy works.
Good.
So where do we begin with
that? Well, it all starts with understanding the why.
Okay.
What are the driving forces behind your need for this transformation?
Right.
What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah.
What problems are you trying to solve by becoming more agile?
So we need to be super clear about our motivations and goals.
You need to have that clarity
before we even think about how to get there.
And once you have that clarity, you can start to identify the core values that are going to shape your vision. Right. These values are going to act as your guiding principles. Right. They're going to help you make decisions and stay on track throughout the whole transformation journey.
Okay, so the values are almost like our guiding principles.
They are your guiding principles.
Yeah, your guiding principles.
Yeah, great way to.
So for instance, we want to be more customer focused.
Right.
And we want to be more responsive to change.
Right.
Those are our motivations.
Okay.
For embracing Agile.
That's a great example. Yeah. And if those are your motivations, then your values might revolve around things like collaboration, continuous improvement, and delivering exceptional value to your customers.
Okay, so I see how those are all connected.
They're all related.
Okay.
All together. So our vision statement could be something like to become a highly collaborative and adaptable Agile PMO that consistently delivers exceptional value.
That's great.
To our customers.
That is a fantastic vision statement.
Really?
It's concise.
Okay.
It's inspiring.
And it clearly incorporates those core values that we just talked about.
All right, I'm feeling inspired already.
Good.
So once we have this awesome vision statement, what's next?
Well, that vision statement becomes the foundation for developing your Agile principles.
Okay.
And these are essentially the ground rules for how your Agile PMO is going to operate.
So
you can kind of think of them as actionable guidelines that translate your vision into day-to-day practices.
So it's not just
That's just a poster on the wall.
A poster on the wall.
Yeah, you actually have to live it.
We got to live these values.
You do.
Okay.
And these principles will influence everything from your team's daily routines to the way that you make decisions.
Okay, this is really making me realize how powerful a vision can be.
It is.
It's not just
a feel-good statement.
a feel-good statement.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really the foundation
for change
or lasting change.
And don't forget, building a vision is not a solo mission.
It's not a solo mission.
You gotta involve people.
You gotta involve people. Get their input, get their feedback, get their buy-in from the start.
Okay, so we're talking about stakeholder engagement.
We are.
I know we touched on that earlier, but I'd love to dig a little deeper.
Sure.
What does it actually look like in practice?
Yeah, well, it's about understanding the needs, the perspectives, and the potential concerns of all the people and groups who are going to be affected by this Agile transformation.
Yeah.
We can't just operate in a silo.
Right.
We need to build relationships. We need to communicate openly and honestly.
And we need to be really proactive about addressing any roadblocks or resistance.
So stakeholders aren't just these passive recipients of information.
They're not passive at all.
They're really
They need to be involved.
active participants in this?
Active participants.
Oh.
That's a great way to put it.
So stakeholder engagement isn't just this one-time activity.
It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
Ongoing. Okay.
Ongoing.
We got to keep those lines of communication open.
You do.
Okay, now let's talk about building that high-performing Agile team.
Right.
What are the key characteristics?
Okay, well, there are 4 pillars
Okay.
that support a high-performing Agile team.
All right, let's hear them.
Okay, the first one is collaboration.
Oh, okay.
The second is competency.
Okay.
The third is continuity. And the fourth is self-organization.
Okay, so let's break those down. Collaboration, that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's about working together effectively, right?
It is about working together effectively. It's about open communication, sharing ideas freely, and really working toward a common goal.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Competency is equally important.
Got
You
it.
know, you need to have individuals with the skills and the knowledge to excel in their roles and really contribute to the team's success.
So it's not just about
getting along. Yeah, you need to have the right people.
The right people with the right expertise.
With the right expertise.
Okay.
And a high-performing Agile team is made up of individuals who are constantly learning and growing, expanding their skill sets, and staying up to date with the latest trends and technologies.
Okay, what about continuity?
Right. Well, continuity is really about, minimizing disruptions and maintaining that stability within the team.
Okay, so once we have this team in place, this awesome team, that's competent, that's stable, that's used to working together.
Yeah.
That's where self-organization comes in.
That's exactly where it comes in.
Okay.
A truly Agile team is empowered to manage their own work, make decisions, and really hold themselves accountable for delivering those results.
So they don't need someone looking over their shoulder.
They don't. No, they're self-organizing.
Okay.
They don't need to be micromanaged. They know what needs to be done.
Okay, so this is really different from a traditional
It is
hierarchical team.
It's a very different way of working. Agile teams are built on trust empowerment and a shared commitment to delivering that value.
Okay, this is really making me rethink how I approach teamwork.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our vision.
Okay.
We're actively engaging stakeholders.
Right.
We're building this incredible high-performing team.
Yeah.
What about the actual work itself?
Right.
How does an Agile PMO approach?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Project planning and execution.
It really gets to the heart of how Agile is different.
Okay.
We don't create these huge, detailed project plans up front.
Okay.
Instead, we plan in smaller increments.
Okay.
Constantly adapting and refining as we go.
Okay.
And we call these increments sprints.
Sprints.
The sprints, yeah.
So it's about being flexible and responsive to change.
Right.
Rather than trying to...
Right, because change is inevitable.
Predict the future.
Right, exactly.
It's perfectly from the start.
Exactly, and Agile acknowledges that.
Okay.
And instead of resisting it, we embrace it.
Okay.
And we use it to our advantage.
And this whole planning thing is a collaborative effort?
It is. It involves the whole team, the product owner, and all the stakeholders.
So no more project manager in a spreadsheet?
No more spreadsheet.
For weeks on end?
Nope, those days are over.
All right, so this Agile planning is...
team sport.
It's a team effort.
Okay.
It's about working together to create that shared understanding of the work.
Okay.
Breaking it down into manageable chunks.
Yeah.
And prioritizing tasks based on their value.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this iterative approach can actually be more efficient and effective than the traditional...
Than the waterfall method.
Waterfall method, exactly. Yeah. And don't forget about the importance of constantly reassessing those priorities as you learn and adapt.
Right.
You know, things change. Yeah. New information comes in.
Right.
And you need to be able to adjust your plans.
Okay, so it's not a static plan.
It's not set in stone.
Set in stone.
No, it's a living document.
It's a living, breathing...
It evolves. It evolves along with the project.
Okay, all this talk about change and uncertainty makes me think about risk management.
Yeah.
Does Agile have a different way of handling risks?
It has a very different approach to risk management.
Okay.
Agile acknowledges that risk is just an inherent part of any project.
Right.
It's not something that you should fear or try to avoid.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to acknowledge, assess, and manage proactively throughout the whole project lifecycle.
So we're not trying to eliminate risk, which is probably impossible anyway.
It is probably impossible. No, we're just trying to
manage it.
Manage it effectively.
You got to be smart about it.
Okay.
And Agile risk management is really all about transparency, early identification, and collaborative mitigation.
So we bring the risk out in the open.
You do. You bring it out into the open. You talk about it as a team, and you develop strategies to address it.
So what are some of the common factors that make projects risky in the first place?
Well, think about things like unclear requirements, poor communication, unrealistic deadlines, inadequate resources, lack of stakeholder buy-in. Yeah. These are all classic risk factors.
So I'm seeing how these risk factors that you're mentioning, they connect back to some of these core Agile principles. Right.
That we've been talking about.
They all work together. So by embracing transparency, communication, collaboration, and adaptability, Agile naturally helps to mitigate many of those common risks.
So it's about weaving this risk management into our daily Agile practice.
You're weaving it in at everything you do.
So we're not just creating like a separate risk management plan.
Oh, it's part of your everyday work.
You're part of everything we do.
It is. Man. You're constantly thinking about it.
Okay, this is making me think differently about how I approach projects. You know?
It's a different way of thinking.
It's not about trying to control every single variable.
Control everything.
It's about building in...
You got to be flexible.
Flexibility and being willing to embrace the uncertainty.
You have to embrace the uncertainty.
That comes along.
Yeah, it's part of it.
With these big endeavors.
That is the essence of Agile.
Okay.
Right?
We've covered a lot of ground
Yeah.
in this Agile PMO journey.
You got covered a lot.
Vision stakeholders, teams, planning, execution, risk management.
We've hit all the major points.
It's a lot to digest.
It is a lot.
But it all
works together.
Works together.
It does.
In this kind of,
it creates a synergy.
In this Agile synergy.
Yes.
Okay.
And that synergy is what drives successful transformations.
Okay. So don't get overwhelmed.
Don't get overwhelmed. Take it one step at a time.
Right.
Experiment.
Yeah.
Learn as you go.
Right.
Adapt to the needs of your organization.
Adapt.
Okay.
There's no
like cookie cutter.
There's no cookie cutter
approach to Agile.
You got to find what works for you.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Now I'm curious about the challenges.
Right.
I imagine there are some common hurdles that organizations face when they try to embrace
Agile
larger organizations.
Yeah, larger organization that have these
more traditional structures,
hierarchical structures.
Those are the ones that tend to struggle the most.
So
let's dive into those challenges.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest hurdles that organizations face when they embark on this Agile journey?
One of the most common and significant challenges is resistance to change. Okay. People are creatures of habit.
Right.
They like what's familiar, even if it's not working as well as it could be.
Even if it's broken.
Even if it's broken.
Okay, so how do we overcome that resistance?
Yeah, well, communication is key.
Or, you need to be able to clearly articulate the benefits of the changes.
Right.
Explain the why behind the transformation.
Okay.
And really just address people's concerns openly and honestly.
So you got to be upfront with people.
You do.
Okay.
And it's really important to involve people in the process.
So it doesn't feel like it's being...
Right. You want to make them feel like...
forced upon them.
They're part of the solution.
Part of the solution.
Not just subject to the change.
Okay.
And celebrating those small wins along the way can go a long way in building momentum.
Right.
And keeping people motivated.
So it's about making this change feel less
threatening. Yeah, more collaborative.
Okay.
More like a journey that you're taking together.
Okay. What other challenges are common in these transformations?
Lack of skills can be a major hurdle.
Okay.
If people don't have the skills that they need to work in an agile way, they're going to struggle to embrace the new processes and tools.
So investing in training and development is crucial here.
It's absolutely crucial.
Okay.
You need to provide people with the knowledge, the skills, and the support to succeed in an agile environment.
What about tools and technology?
Right. Well,
I imagine
they play a pretty significant role.
They do, but it's important to remember that tools and technology are really just enablers.
Okay.
They're not solutions in themselves.
So we need to be thoughtful about
which
tools we adopt.
And how you use them.
Exactly. Okay.
Make sure that they're actually supporting...
So they're supporting our goals.
Your agile goals.
Okay, so they're not just shiny objects that we're chasing after.
Exactly. They have to have a purpose.
Okay. Are there any other...
Yeah, there's one more.
Common challenges that you can think of?
One more that's worth mentioning is lack of leadership support.
Okay.
If the leaders aren't fully committed to this agile transformation, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get buy-in.
So leadership...
Buy-in is essential.
Buy-in is essential for success.
It is.
Okay.
Leaders really need to be those visible champions.
So they need
for the change.
Walk the walk.
They do. They can't just hawk the talk.
Not just talk the talk.
They need to be out there doing it.
Okay.
Actively supporting the transformation.
Right.
Modeling those agile behaviors and empowering their teams to embrace these new ways of working.
Okay, so we've identified some of the common challenges that organizations face.
I talked about a few of the big ones
when they're trying to embrace agile. Right. What are some practical tips?
Okay, well,
for overcoming these hurdles.
First of all, it starts with choosing the right agile methodology for your environment and your project.
Okay.
Agile isn't one size fits all.
Right.
There are many different frameworks and methodologies out there.
Okay.
And it's really crucial to select the ones that best align with.
Right. So we need to do our homework.
You do.
And choose wisely.
You got to do your research.
Okay.
You got to choose wisely.
Okay.
And sometimes a hybrid approach, blending Agile with traditional methods can be a really good starting point, especially for organizations that are new to Agile.
Okay. So find the
right balance.
Right balance.
Yeah.
And adapt Agile to fit
it work for you.
Your context.
Yeah.
Right. So don't just try to jam it in there.
Right.
If it's not.
Don't force it. Exactly. Okay. And we talked about the importance of education, coaching, mentoring.
Right.
You really need to invest in helping people understand and embrace Agile principles.
Okay.
Not just the mechanics of how to use Agile tools.
So it's about
the mindset.
The mindset shifts.
It's about changing the way you think.
Okay.
It's not just about checking boxes and going through the motions.
Okay, so it's not just about doing Agile, it's about being Agile.
It's about being Agile.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, and what about resource allocation?
Resource allocation is another really critical area.
Okay.
Agile really emphasizes focus and flow.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that people have the time and the space to do their best work without being overloaded or constantly interrupted.
So we're not spreading people too thin.
Right. You want to give them the space they need.
Space to do their best work.
To focus.
Right.
We want to create an environment where people can focus on one task at a time.
Right.
And really get into that state of flow. Because that's when we're most productive.
Right. And most engaged.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What about problem solving?
Right. Agile teams.
Does Agile have
They need good problem solvers approaching that?
They do, and adopting a structured problem-solving method can be really, really helpful in making sure that you're identifying the root cause.
So we're not just treating the symptom.
Exactly. You want to get to the root of the problem.
Okay.
And Agile problem-solving is really all about collaboration, creativity, and a focus on finding solutions that are going to deliver value.
Okay, so we're not just...
You're not just reacting.
You're being thoughtful about it.
Okay.
You're being intentional.
So we're being strategic and intentional about how we approach problems.
It's a very deliberate approach.
Okay. I'm really seeing how all of these Agile principles are kind of
they are all connected.
Interconnected.
They are.
And
they work together to create a much more efficient and effective
to create a better
way of working.
Exactly.
Okay.
The better way to work.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges.
Yeah.
All right, we're back in. You mentioned leadership is the last piece of this Agile PMO puzzle.
It is.
We talked about, executive buy-in before.
Yeah.
But I really want to dig into what it means to be an effective Agile leader.
It's a great point, and it's something that often gets lost in the excitement of implementing Agile processes and tools.
Right. But leadership sets the tone for the whole transformation.
Right.
It's not just about saying that you support Agile.
Right.
It's really about embodying those values in every decision that you make.
So how does that translate into real world behavior? What are the
qualities?
The qualities that make an Agile leader?
Well, one of the most fundamental qualities of an Agile leader is that they're servant leaders.
Okay, I've heard that term before, but I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually means.
Sure, well, think of it this way.
Okay.
A servant leader puts the needs of their team first.
Okay.
They're focused on helping their team members grow, develop their skills, and really reach their full potential.
So it's not about
it's not about power.
Power and authority.
No, it's not about being the boss.
It's about empowering others.
It's about empowering others to succeed.
Okay, so it's almost like turning...
It is. It's like flipping...
that traditional leadership pyramid?
The pyramid upside down.
Upside down.
Exactly. Agile leaders are there to support, to guide, and to remove obstacles for their teams. They're not there to dictate or to micromanage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how that shift in perspective can really...
That can be much more collaborative.
Much more collaborative and supportive.
And supportive environment.
Okay.
Right.
What other qualities are essential?
Okay, well, communication is crucial.
Okay.
Agile leaders are masters of communication. They're transparent, they're open, and they're honest in their communication. And that really helps to build trust and create that shared understanding within the team.
So no more closed-door meetings.
No more secrets.
And cryptic pronouncements.
Everyone's in the loop.
From the top.
Exactly. Agile leaders are all about, open dialogue, active listening, and clear, concise communication.
Okay.
They create an environment where everyone feels comfortable speaking up, sharing their ideas, and asking questions.
That's refreshing.
It is. It sounds like
it's a much healthier way to work.
Healthier and more...
And a more productive way to work.
Productive way to work.
Absolutely.
Okay, what else sets Agile leaders apart?
Well, Agile leaders are also adaptable, and they embrace change.
Right.
They understand that in an Agile environment, things are constantly evolving, and they're able to adjust their plans and approaches accordingly.
So we're not stuck in the past doing things.
You got to be willing to let go of the old ways.
Oh, I've always done them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Agile leaders are committed to continuous improvement.
Right.
They're always looking for ways to do things better, faster, and more efficiently. They're not afraid to experiment, to learn from their mistakes, and to pivot when they need to.
Okay, this is really highlighting the contrast between Agile leadership and the traditional command and control.
It is a fundamental shift in mindset and in behavior.
So Agile leaders
are enablers.
Are enablers, not dictators.
Not dictators. They're there to create that culture where trust and transparency and collaboration can thrive.
I'm convinced Agile leadership is the way to go.
It's the way of the future.
But how do we develop these skills?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not something
It's not something you can just learn.
Just read in a book.
In a book.
Or learn in a
No, it takes
management training course.
It takes a willingness to learn and grow.
So where do we start?
Okay, well, the first step is to cultivate a growth mindset.
Okay.
Agile leaders are lifelong learners.
Okay.
They're curious.
Yeah.
They're open to new ideas. Yeah. They're always looking for ways to improve.
Okay, so it's about being a student of leadership.
You're always learning.
Always learning.
Always growing.
Okay, what else?
Look for opportunities to practice those agile leadership behaviors that we talked about.
Okay.
Volunteer to lead a project using an agile framework, coach a team member, facilitate a retrospective.
Okay, so get
your hands on experience.
Yeah, put it into practice.
You put it into practice.
And don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Okay.
Agile leaders,
they value input from their teams, from their peers, from their stakeholders.
Right.
Feedback is essential for growth.
Feedback is a gift.
It is a gift.
Okay.
It's how we get better.
So let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Agile leadership sounds...
It does.
It does.
It sounds easy.
But I imagine it's not always...
It's not always easy.
Smooth sailing.
It's not.
What are some of the challenges?
Right. It has its own...
unique set of challenges.
Leading in this new way.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is letting go of control.
Okay.
Traditional leaders, they're used to calling the shots.
Right. They're used to...
having all the decisions. Having all the answers.
Right.
But in an agile environment, that just doesn't work.
I can see how
there will be a struggle
of some of that control.
Yeah, especially for
leaders who have been successful.
Leaders that have been successful
using traditional approaches.
The old way. It's a big adjustment.
So we need to...
You need to learn to trust your team.
Trust the team and
empower them to make decisions.
Empower them.
And that takes vulnerability.
Okay.
It takes humility.
Yeah.
And it takes a willingness to relinquish some of that traditional control.
Okay, what other challenges?
Okay, well, another big one
do agile leaders face?
Is creating a culture of psychological safety.
Okay, psychological safety.
Yeah.
That's a term I've heard, but I don't know that I totally get it.
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Psychological safety means creating an environment where people feel safe to speak up, share their ideas, admit their mistakes, and ask for help without fear of judgment or repercussions.
So it's like creating this...
It's about creating a safe space.
Safe space.
For people to be themselves. be vulnerable.
To be vulnerable,
Yeah.
to not have all the answers,
Yeah.
and to learn from each other.
And to learn from those mistakes.
Right, and that can be a challenge in organizations that have a history of blame, punishment, and a fear of failure.
Okay, so that could really be
a roadblock
to this whole Agile thing.
With Agile transformation, absolutely.
Right, because if people are
afraid
to speak up
or make a mistake,
you're not going to get that innovation.
Okay, so how do we overcome these challenges?
Yeah, well, it starts with
how do we create a more psychological
vulnerable, admit your own mistakes.
Okay.
Ask for help when you need it.
Right.
And encourage others to do the same.
So lead by example.
Lead by example and show people that.
Show them that.
It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not be perfect.
Right. We all make mistakes and be proactive about addressing any behaviors that might be undermining that psychological safety.
So if we see someone
you see someone
like being negative or
being dismissive,
blaming other people,
blaming someone for a mistake,
we step in,
redirect that behavior,
redirect it.
You got to set the tone for the entire team.
So create that culture. Where everyone feels
respected
and valued.
It's safe to contribute. Yeah, I love that.
It's so important.
Okay.
It really is.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm feeling really energized and equipped to embrace these Agile principles.
That's great.
And advocate for this transformation in my own work. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much for sharing your
expertise.
It's been a great conversation
and guiding us through this whole Agile landscape.
I'm happy to help.
I'm feeling really inspired to take on this challenge.
Well, remember, Agile transformation is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes effort.
Yeah.
And a willingness to continuously learn and adapt.
Right.
But the rewards are definitely worth it.
Okay, so to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening.
On this deep dive into the world of Agile PMOs.
Yeah, absolutely.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights.
I hope so.
And are feeling inspired to embark on
go out there and be agile.
Your own Agile journey.
Exactly.
So until next time.
Right.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Keep learning, keep growing.
And keep diving deep.